worth it. Lights are cheaper for that one than they are the 2 horsepower.
What,
course,
how many
that's-
horse is it now?
5.
Fortunately, we've had enough wind.
Call the meeting to order and begin.
Enough moon.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, okay.
And then there's another company that he found here.
Okay, I got 2 changes on the agenda. I'm gonna take number 1 and number 3 off the agenda for tonight. And I'm moving the approval of bills up here after number of 8. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. I got anything to talk about that's not on the agenda?
I have something to say, and I don't know exactly when I should say it. If it should be when you get down to the police department stuff, or if I should say it now. Back a while ago, we put together a petition to have unified law enforcement. And I know some people on the council were not in favor of that. We did some meetings, and it was my understanding at that time that the council was going to review it and look at it. That never happened, but I'm wondering if at this time, since Shannon resigned or retired, whatever, that maybe this would be the appropriate time to look at that. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. It's just that I still feel that it will save the city some money and the county some money. I would really like the council to consider looking at that. So that's what I have to say about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else for public input? If not, we'll go into unfinished business. And number 1 is personnel committee recommendation for COVID pay.
Now, we met as a personnel committee and we looked at it, and of December 31st, 2020, the United States government quit giving out COVID money for, I don't know, leave or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. And I guess that's the way we feel too.
And I did check with the county, and the county went by those same rules. They don't pay for COVID pay since that was over in December of 2020. And some other businesses that have quite a few employees, they no longer did. They just did it in the beginning when there was COVID grants for that.
Well, we can't act on that until the next meeting, so. Is there anything else on that?
So the recommendation is no.
No, that it
No.
ended.
Okay, perfect.
Put that on the agenda for unfinished business next time. Okay, we'll go on to number 2 in unfinished business, street committee, camping and the fountain.
So the street committee met again and discussed the campground in the park. Right now, our ordinance states that it's 7 days maximum unless prior approval from the park manager or street superintendent. For some odd reason, there's a sign at the park that says 3 days, so there's some confusion there. But we talked about possibly charging if people wanted to stay longer. The conflict some of us have with that is we have businesses in town that have campgrounds. We don't wanna be in competition with business. So the the committee recommendation for that is to leave the ordinance as 7-day maximum and strike out the unless prior approval part of it. So people can stay 7 days maximum, and then they move on. Right now, we've got 2 residents that have basically taken up residence in our park, and that's not really the intent of our campground down there.
Now, there's 2 campers down there. Are those the 2 people? Okay.
One's kinda on that bubble, and I'm not sure about the other one, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I've been.
Yesterday,
I was gone last week.
yesterday when I walked down through there, the 2 are the 2 residents.
Okay.
That, I don't know what changed overnight, but I didn't walk down there today, but
Yeah, there were still 2 campers down there today. I walked down there, so.
it's what?
There were still 2 campers down there today.
I wasn't sure on the second one, cause I was gone last week, and I don't even know the one,
Right,
to be honest with you.
okay,
The other one's right on that 7 days, like tomorrow.
okay.
Now,
You guys did mention going possibly 7 days, and then off time, and then another 7 days, so a maximum of 14. With the idea of like racetrack people, they could go down for say 7 weeks for 2 days. I doubt they'll stay 2 night days. A lot of times they're there, stay overnight, and then they go to another race the following night.
Right.
But that would allow a more stay in town. Another one that was brought up for that.
And I think it would be really hard to keep track of so-and-so has been here, let's see,
Yeah.
13 days this month, or,
Yep.
you know, I don't really, I mean,
unless you
I
have,
can see not having them take up residency and being there all the time,
Mhm.
but, you know, depending, I think I don't know how you would keep track of all of that.
I think our park manager is smart enough to know when we've got somebody from town living in the park,
Mhm.
and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Right,
If you're from Rapid City and you come here for a race for 3 days and you come back next weekend for another 3-day race,
right.
that's what the park's there for.
Yeah.
It's not there for people to live.
Right.
So that's the committee recommendation.
That's good.
So what happens if they stay longer than 7 days?
They're supposed to be told to leave.
Actually, there'll have to be some signage put up there that says 7 days.
Right now it says 72 hours.
Yeah, cause there's a lot of
It's
conflicting
moved around
information.
So many times, I bought a lot of signs throughout.
So for,
Every
For now.
council's had their shot at this.
Yeah.
The last one was 72.
yeah. But it was never changed in the ordinance book.
Right.
Mhm.
So we need to get all of that straightened out and,
We need to have them so they all are the same.
so then like what Jim says, it will, goes down and tells them they have to get the hell out. If they're over 7 days.
It'd be nice.
department.
Yeah,
Might
But what
wanna
if they
say it
don't?
nicer.
what if they don't?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that most people will, but
I think if they understand the ordinance and the reasons why you do that, I don't think you'll have a lot of problems with that, but
It's no
Did you have
different than
any
our grass ordinance. If somebody doesn't mow their yard, we go in and mow it for them and send them a bill.
But that's, you have that in there, kind of a way to charge them, I think is kind of what you're saying, there's no,
Penalty?
if you're here 8 days, on the 8th day, we're gonna charge you however much, I don't know.
Or
That might get them to move.
you'll get a fine,
That's what I mean.
As a-
trespassing.
well, it would have to be a significant fine.
Cause we really don't have any teeth.
Because if you're gonna give me a fine of $20 a night, what the hell? Man, I'm serious. I mean,
Fine them like any misdemeanor, $132.50 every day until they move.
That's a big enough bite, that might make a
Then there needs to be a consequence if they don't.
Otherwise you have nothing to go off of.
Yep.
That's,
'Cause if you don't leave today, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and tell you to leave again, and if you don't leave, I'll come back the next day and tell you to leave again. And we can't tow their vehicle.
Can't take the front end loader down there
How did you
and
get
start
it?
pushing?
We told, but it wasn't the owner.
We already told one on there.
Oh, really?
We told that when we talked to the
Yeah.
holding title person.
Oh,
Because it
Okay.
wasn't the person who was staying in.
yeah, I knew you said one time you had the squatter in there. Okay, I wonder how you got rid of that.
Jim made, I hate to guess how many calls to make sure we were doing it right, because
Mhm.
we hooked on to their vehicle.
Okay.
But he had title in hand and said, go ahead and get it out of there, so.
So, do we wanna?
Let's move on to the fountain.
do you wanna
Because-
finish up on,
All we got on the agenda is the street committee's recommendation. We can't
Okay.
change it, we can't act on it until the next meeting.
We're not having a committee meeting. Okay, so on the fountain, we've looked into a few different options on that. We can get the recommended size for a 1 acre pond, which is what we have, is a 2 horsepower fountain. Right now, we've got a 5 horsepower, it's wore out, it's broke, no good. We've got a couple we looked at, it looks like about $5,700 is gonna get us a fountain with no lights. That's shipped here, it's available, we can have it in 3 to 5 days. And they've got a little imagery thing on their website where you send them a picture and they'll send you back what the fountain would look like in the pond, and that gives you an idea of the one we're looking at.
So that's the 2 horsepower?
Yes, it's supposed to have a 32-foot diameter spray, 8 foot tall. The one we have now says it would have like a 12-foot height and about 34-foot diameter.
I'll be honest with you, I would think the smaller one would keep water in, because you get a hot day with that going, that makes a lot of evaporation, you can see a lot of that mist.
You can
So
feel
that
it.
might be better on the lake if we get dry.
Mhm.
The 5 horsepower needs 30 inches of water to run. This one needs 20, 19. So if we do get really dry, I mean, Dustin said you could go out in waders last year and it was pretty darn dry then. The next issue is how to pay for it. We've got a couple different options. We could supplement 5,700 out of the general fund or out of the council contingency. Have we used any out of there yet, Shayla? No.
No.
So that's gonna be a council decision whether we can fund the fountain or not. And then which one we'd wanna go with if we did wanna fund one. The one to replace the one we have now, Dustin got a quote last meeting, and that was just shy of, what was it, 14,000,
Yeah.
13?
11.
And we can't get that for 5 to 7 weeks. So by the time that gets here, you'd put it in, and then you turn around and take it back out for winter time.
So Dustin, did you compare the two?
I was in the committee, and
So,
I mean, with what's going on, it's half the horsepower, but, according to what Jeff spoke with the gentleman, it's supposed to be adequate to aerate that volume of water, so. Jeff did all the work on this, I mean, I personally think that 2.5 would be fine.
It don't look like it's a lot different spray pattern. A little
Right.
bit higher for the 5 horses, about the only difference. And then we went through Woonsocket today, they got a huge pond down there. And they just had a single chute going up, probably went up, what, 30 foot or so?
Yeah, it was just a straight
Just
upstream, and
one
it would
straight
only
stream.
go like, every once in a while, you'd see it, and then it'd be off, and then you'd see it, and then it'd be off, I didn't know.
maybe theirs is breaking down too.
We had that, yeah, but I almost, the way that one looked, it must, I don't know anything about that pond, but it almost looks like it must have water coming into it, or
Right,
the pool's right there, I don't know, they just keep filtering the pool
I
out,
think it's-
I have no idea, but, I mean, the water looked good there though.
It's a big, pretty good sized lake.
Yeah, we got rain last night, I'm assuming they got rain.
You are supposed to change the oil limits. I don't know if you got any maintenance records on this pump we have now, but, I was noticing that Gemini, the one we have now, it does say to change the oil every 2 to 3 years on it,
Okay,
so,
no, last year I found it,
yeah, plugged it in.
with some duct tape, whatever, and then away we went.
And what do they recommend for oil, like mineral oil, or you gotta just buy oil from them, whatever they recommend, or?
I'm sure the book would tell
That'd be
you.
great, have something to do, and I can have a file on it.
Yeah.
So,
So that's the discussion, is whether or not we wanna find a way to spend money on a fountain or budget it and do it next year.
If we act immediately, we may be able to have it for the 4th of July. If Dustin has the time, to maybe put it in if it gets here, you know, possibly.
Does that come with a new cord then?
150-foot cord. This one, the picture was up, you can add lights later, a light kit. I don't have my sheet in front of me, but a colored light kit was,
I think it was on that one.
Tammy, you got that?
Yep, it's, with the, it's $7,660 with the lights. And then if you get, it must be the ones that change off and on, that's $8,960.
The lights are expensive. Mainly because you gotta buy another 150-foot cord for the lights to get to the control panel.
LEDs and UL listing, and then you could change the colors from the box on that one as
If,
well.
if you get the color ones, yeah, it's like $3,300 for
Sure.
fancy lights. But we can add them later too.
Maybe
They
somebody
just
will
clip
make a
onto the
donation.
frame. If you don't have to buy the pump this year, we can put lights on it next year if you want to.
I think the thing here is if Mother Nature decides not to give us any more rain.
One thing about that lake, it does not suck, it doesn't go down, because there's a liner underneath it, it is all evaporation. normally not low like it was last year.
Last year, there was absolutely no rain. That
If
didn't
you
help.
get, say you get an inch of rain,
Uh-huh.
there's over an acre of pavement that will fill that, so you'll have an inch acre or more fill. We just couldn't buy a rain last year.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a terrible year.
Actually, it had more than an acre, because you had the acre of the pond getting the water, plus was running
Oh, sure.
to.
And this does help keep it clean.
Keeps mosquitoes down, for larvae.
Oh, really?
Larvae cannot survive in moving water. They need still water, cause when they're, once the egg hatches, they got, I can't think what you call them, but it's like a straw.
Oh.
And it's at the top of the bottom of the water, and that's how they get their air, and when you see them, they'll take off. Eventually, they gotta come back and get air of the ground, they're just like you, they need air.
Oh, really? Huh.
If you keep splashing it, that area, there won't be any mosquitoes in that area.
That's cool.
Does that help with any of the chemical that you put in there too, Ron? Does that help mix it up or that?
It can, yeah. I know one time we had a gallon of blue dye and we put it right by the pump, and before we got away on the boat, somebody plugged it in, and we were running the oars out there. It was darker than his shirt too.
Trying to get out there so he didn't look like a Smurf.
I didn't think it was funny, but everybody else did.
Do we need a motion for that? Or,
If we're gonna act on it tonight,
You
and,
can't act on it tonight.
well, if they're not recommending, they're giving options, they're not saying, let's do this, right? They're giving options. I don't know if that is any better or not, but, We're
Doesn't say a
having the-
recommendation on the agenda.
yeah,
Neither one of them actually says a recommendation.
yeah. But they're giving options that the whole council would have to decide what's the best direction.
Well, let's move on, because we can talk all night, and there's not anything we can change.
we can't make a motion
Tonight.
tonight, Ron?
No. Council Code of Conduct is found on pages 5 and 6. Quite a bit of reading now.
It's the same, that's the one that was recommended last time, so it's not any different than what's last time, so.
Has anybody got any questions about this or wanna know anything about it? That, has this been published or not?
No. Well, it's been with the agenda is all. It's been out with the agenda the last 2 times, but it hasn't, that's all the further it's gone.
Has anybody of the council got anything to say about, I mean, changes or whatever? I'm gonna call for a motion to either approve or reject this.
I move that we approve this.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? If not, I'm gonna vote by roll call. I'm gonna start with, has anybody got anything they wanna say about it before we vote? Okay, I'm gonna start with roll call. I'm gonna start with Alderwoman Harkins.
Okay, aye?
Alderwoman Lexi.
Aye.
Alderman Wentz is absent. Alderman Odegaard.
Aye.
Alderman Zeller.
Aye.
Alderman Schwartz.
Aye.
Hearing 5 ayes, no nays, and 1 absent. Motion carries. Okay, let's see, there's number 1 has been canceled. Number 2, swim club, duck race donation. You know,
Susie's here to take care of that.
So I'm here for the Miller Swim Club Board. We're doing our annual duck race on the 2nd of July at 5 o'clock at the pool. I can't tell you how many years we've done it, but ever since my child has been in swim club, we have done the duck race. So the board wanted me to come and ask if you would be willing to donate the family pool pass as one of the prizes, as you've done in the past. The other prizes are $200 that we will pay out of our funds, and the Midway Drive-In Theater is making a prize package for us also.
I think we've donated that for quite a while.
I would make a motion, we donate a family pass.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to donate a family pass to the swimming pool.
That was
Is there
on,
any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Okay, takes care of number 2, number 3 is canceled. Next thing on the agenda is Heather Hill, road damage charge.
Forgot sunset.
Heather, you wanna explain what,
When I first started the project, I was told that with the sewer lines and everything getting replaced, if they were gonna tear up my road, I wouldn't have to pay to fix the road. And I was told that road wasn't gonna be tore up, and then 5 months later, they're tearing it up. So I was wondering about that charge for the road replacement.
Is that ground all the way past you, where that patch is?
Yeah.
I haven't been up there since last week, so I.
Yep.
But I know originally they were just gonna do 4th Street and not do 5th Ave.
Yep, they did from, what is that street? It's that whole block in front of my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, so,
It's the entire 5th Avenue?
Mhm.
Cause at the time of the billing, I was informed that wasn't gonna get done up.
Correct.
correct, it was a change
Yep.
order, because it wouldn't have been deep enough by the time they got to my house, and so I think the way I understand it, hopefully I'm not speaking on it, but it was a change order to get deep enough to get to where I'm at, and so to get that deep, they had to
Go clear
start in a
back.
different area, instead of coming shallow. So. They did not know that.
Last year, I was informed it wasn't good layout, so that's why. We patched the tractor, which is normal, I usually patch stuff when it gets dug up. Sure.
Hi, Mike.
So you're asking them to forgive
Mike?
the $196?
Yeah, you want me to put you on speaker here and you can finish up with us? Okay. You there, Mike?
I'm here.
Okay. This is Mike West calling on phone.
Gotcha.
So you're asking about the $196
Correct.
charge?
Yep.
Well, I think I can remember signing a change order. Cause I don't think that street was on,
He was not,
Was
that's why
on
she
the-
got billed. I would agree with her now that I know what we know, but last year I did because it wasn't supposed to be done. Now it is done, so it doesn't make sense that we bill it.
I know it only seems like $196, but I can put that towards
We wouldn't have-
other bills.
50 cents is 50 cents.
That's true.
Dollar. I agree this year. If I would've known it, I
That's why I
wouldn't have
don't-
passionate, I wouldn't have passionate if I'd have known, and that's,
Exactly.
she did come here before that and ask about that.
Mm-hmm.
This would be like, would this be a check back to her, credit on her account, how would you wanna handle that?
Probably a check back because it's street repair. The account is all utility, water and sewer. This went into the street.
Take it out of the ballpark bucks.
Okay. Let's take it out of Dustin's, just because.
If it wasn't for your house, that'd have been beaten.
Exactly.
That had nothing to do with that. That was a charity deal, I didn't know that.
Boy, we're grasping for straws on it.
He's got the money.
Yeah.
So basically, we are responsible when there's a change order to repair the street?
Well, I would've never fixed it if I'd have known they were gonna turn right around and dig it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to patch it and then have it dug up, but at the same time, it wasn't, I mean, when they changed it, we shouldn't have built it. See what I mean? Hindsight will get you every time, we all know that, it's kinda doing it right now, so.
Maybe send a bill to the engineers that didn't figure it out right.
There you go.
Like
They're not
that.
here to defend themselves.
He-
Yep, that's
He
it.
retired.
He
He
retired.
retired.
He did.
Yeah. Now he saw this coming.
This $196 made him retire
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, he's an engineer, I'm sure that scared him.
I'd make a motion to refund her for the $196. If it was me, I'd be a little upset too.
What's just your refunded now?
$196 for the street repair.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Susan second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. What was the figure?
$196.
To refund that? To refund $196 on this.
Peanut Gallery made a comment, we should include the tax on that too.
What would you do without?
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Got some inflation, some more tax.
It costs more to fix it today than
Yep.
last.
Okay, we have the first reading of 7/27. I got a pizza on over the.
732 budget.
Was it 7:30? I can't see it because it's covered up. I had a little problem. Cat came on at the wrong time. What page is it on?
Page 9.
9. Okay, ordinance number 732 is an ordinance amending chapter 2, article 5, finance and taxation of the ordinances of the city of Miller, South Dakota. Be it ordained by the city of Miller, South Dakota, that chapter 2, article 4 or 5 is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 2-511, introduction and adoption of annual municipal budget ordinance. The municipal budget process shall be as follows. Pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 9-21-34, the annual municipal budget ordinance shall be submitted to the city council for first reading not later than the first regular meeting in November. The second reading of the annual municipal budget ordinance shall be held at least 5 days after the first reading. The annual municipal budget ordinance shall be published prior to December 31st following adoption. Now, what this does is gonna change, what is it, the 1st of July?
September.
Or 1st of September, when we have to read these, it's gonna change it from the 1st of September to these dates, which will make it somewhat easier and more accurate to come up with the annual budget, because that's closer to the end of the fiscal year. So, I'm gonna call for,
We don't need a motion on the first reading.
we don't need a, no, that's right.
Just any comments or changes need to be said now, if there is anything that you wanna change. Otherwise, we'll read it as is next time.
Really, the only thing that changed on it was the date, right?
Correct. From the first meeting in September to the first meeting in November. Now we can actually use 3/4 instead of half a year to have something to work with for budgeting. And not do it in the middle of their busiest time here, so.
if there's nothing else,
You can move on to the,
we'll move on to the next one, which is mileage reimbursement. Found on pages 10 and through 12.
let's see where the. We have not upped our mileage rate for several years, and it's currently at 0.42 cents per mile. And Cindy's trip to finance officer school actually cost her more to fill her tank than it was that she got reimbursed. So it didn't cover wear and tear on the vehicle like it's supposed to. The federal government, January through December, or June 30th was 58.5, and they're upping it to 62.5 as a result of fuel prices. That fluctuates more with fuel prices. Most cities and I think counties actually just go with whatever the federal rate is. But we have always set it at a certain rate, and then we're always behind by the time it.
So how often do we use personal vehicles? Do you have one that you normally require them to take, or?
We don't require, but Terry was using the one that Mike's using right now as his main vehicle for work, so Cindy and Christy just took turns with their own vehicles, so. We don't require either way, but we haven't always had a vehicle to use either. This is new in the last couple of years that we just got this one that we could use.
So Shayla, do we have a policy that says how much they're gonna get reimbursed?
It's just on our reimbursement form in our policy, employee policy manual has that 42 cents in our reimbursement form in the policy part, so.
So does the policy need to be changed?
Yep.
So that you'll follow?
Well, yeah, we would change it if we're going to follow the federal, we would change it to whatever that is.
So you will increase it 20 cents per mile.
If that's what you guys were to vote on, to have it go, yeah, it would be 20 cents. Exactly.
Rather than voting on a monetary amount, can we just say that we want it to go by the federal mileage rate, whatever it is for that year, so you don't have to revisit this every year?
That would be the best way to do it, because we've missed it the last few years, so, obviously.
I would like to throw a recommendation in that they use a city vehicle if at all possible.
And that's kind of what most people do, but. It's been busy today. It went to Flandre and now it's on its way to Rapid City, so. And Terry's been using it because his pickups broke down.
But there's times that it didn't work out, like I used it when we went to Spearfish. But then you drove your own, Terry drove his own, but we all had different meetings too.
Different schedules, yeah.
So,
Ron did drive a pickup from the city pickup, but. So,
we try to utilize it as much as we possibly can. This is the one that we put the tranny in,
Police car.
The police department. So,
I think it would be good to go ahead and just stay with doing the, or not stay that way, but to change it to where we're doing the federal rate. I know where I worked before, that was how they did it, and it's so much smoother. I mean, when it changed, it just changed.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to keep addressing it all the time.
Can we have a motion to that effect?
Okay, I will move that we do that.
I'll second.
Okay, what's the motion now?
That we use the federal rates that they,
Okay.
I don't know what you call
Okay,
them.
we have a motion and a second that we do use the federal rate for mileage. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Looking at Cindy's, cause hers is in that bill list there. Can we put hers to what it would have been January through June of 58.5 instead of 42.5? So she at least, huh?
And I would be okay with that.
You wanna go retroactive to catch Cindy's and
Catch, yeah, Cindy and Christy. Christy hasn't put hers in yet, but they just went there last week, so
They both went the same place.
they took turns driving. They drove to, Cindy was there first. She went to it 2 more days than Christy did, so, or day and
I was gonna say, I didn't think it'd be right, we paid 2 vehicles.
No.
for that.
Thursday and Friday they rode together, but Cindy went Tuesday, Wednesday, Christy went Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday, Friday they rode together, so. They took turns. One drove Thursday, one drove Friday. So I probably need a motion to do a retroactive for the girls to do finance office school.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to make this change retroactive to when?
Probably June 1st. I don't think anybody's traveled before that
To
without,
June 1st. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Building permit. Okay. This is, the paperwork's all done, it's been signed off on by the department heads. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the building permit.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the building permit. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Personnel, number 8 is Personnel Committee recommendation. The utility floater job description found on pages 13 and 14.
I guess we had come up with this, and Shayla had read it over and pointed out a few points to me that might want to change, and we changed them, and Tammy and I don't know if Susan's read it over yet, but we thought it sounded good, so. If everybody reads it and don't have a complaint,
Guess if you have any questions and you wanna get it to me, if we make any changes, we'll just do that as a recommendation next time as well, or?
My thing there, you guys got me down as the direct supervisor, if they don't have any electrical experience, depending on the person. I don't feel like I should be the direct supervisor for that person.
I think Ron mentioned that he would take that position though, what, didn't he? He would take that
They
supervision.
told me
Would you still take his help?
I would take his help depending on the person. We're gonna have to ask that question when we're, hiring. I mean, obviously I want help, but I wanna make sure that somebody be capable, would be alright with working with electricity and also heights. I don't wanna put anybody in that scenario that doesn't wanna be, cause there's quite a few people here that don't, I mean, and they shouldn't be, so.
Are there any other comments to change now, or?
Is there any discussion on oh, it's a committee recommendation. You guys are recommending this, right? Or whoever's on
Yeah,
it.
personnel committee.
The only thing is possibly changing the electrical superintendent
To street,
to street.
and then change the street to electric? Switch those around?
Oh, sure.
You wanna make any changes? or-
Changing the electrical superintendent to street superintendent.
We're just flipping these two around.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be that unique scenario that we would head with Devin, would be the only way that I really work. So that's the way it was gonna go last time when we had a floater, he was gonna go help Ron. And then he had electrical background, which, there again, I still used him 80% of the time, but
Oh, you just turning them around.
Yep.
Back the other way.
Okay,
I know I'm the only one here who has the personnel committee. Have you guys talked to Ron or Terry about any of this, or? Did they
It's
see?
been in
anything?
the discussion before that everybody needs help from time to time, so they should be, cause that was basically what we hired when we hired Devin.
Right.
It
Okay,
just
I
so
just-
happened that he had an electrical, but it certainly could be mentioned again,
Sure.
but I would assume they would be aware.
Okay.
I guess I visited Terry one day a little bit and he thought like he could use some help from time to time. You know, I didn't question him about whether he wanted to be in charge of the guy, but
Sure.
So is this a new job description, or did we have one for Devin when Devin?
we
Well,
did,
if we wanna change that, that can be done at the next meeting.
mm-hmm,
'Cause we can't act on it tonight. So, let's just forward that to the unfinished business be on next meeting's agenda. Okay, the next thing on the bill, on the agenda is approval of the bills.
I'd make a motion, we pay the bills.
I'll second.
Do we got a second?
yep. With
I have
the,
a motion and a second to approve the bills. Is there any discussion?
with a change to Cindy's, I think Cindy's on there, isn't she? With a
You want
correction,
that?
yeah, with a correction to Cindy's amount? Yeah, I think she's. Oh, where is she? Maybe she's not on here, maybe we already paid her.
For,
Her That's what it cost her, but I thought she had maybe she didn't put it in until they made a decision, so we'll leave it as is, she's not on there. Okay.
Is there any more discussion about the bills? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next thing on the agenda is a personnel, an executive session for personnel pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-211. We'll need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to go into personnel or executive session for personnel pursuant to the South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-211. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carried, and we'll go into executive session at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock?
I can't hear a thing anybody's saying.
Okay. Are you in the car alone?
Yes.
Okay. I can call you back on the other phone for the executive session if you'd like.
Yeah?